What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the spot. We kick back and react to all kind of different things. All right, so what we got going on today? We're about to check out some casual geographic. He's dropped a new one, like what, a few days ago? All right, so this one is called The Potentially Terrifying Intelligence of the Orangutan. All right. Well, I'm ready for it. Let's get into this. Let's go.
Free hippies don't always choose peace, but in 2014, one shocked scientist when she not only orchestrated the life canceling of another, she essentially hired a hitman to do it. The hairy honey trap was executed by a young female named Condor, and the victim...
Hold up. Orangutans are pulling assassinations now? What's going on in the animal kingdom? Hold up. That was an opener right there.
was a mother 20 years older named Sidoni. Living in the swamp forests of Indonesia's Mawas Reserve, the two had beef going back all the way to 2009, with Condor curiously approaching Sidoni's at the time 7-year-old daughter, and Sidoni defensively smacking and biting Condor before chasing her off. The perceived insolence stuck with Condor, and the disrespect was tattooed into her psyche. She was not letting that slide. Years later, Condor would catch the eye of a male named Echo, and the two would eventually run into Sidoni. They both approached, and Echo seemed to inspect Sidoni, who was now jockeyed by her 4-year-old son. Echo seemed curious in the mother, before losing interest and proceeding to mate with Condor, right in front of Sidoni. Call it passion or power play, but either way, when Sidoni tried exiting the situation, Condor escalated, ending the lovemaking and savagely beating Sidoni. But what blew researchers away was...
Wait, why we got soap operas going on? In the animal kingdom, what's going on with this? This is a full-fledged soap opera right here.
Echo going from bystander to participant. For 33 minutes, the two took turns beating on Sidoni, sometimes together, sometimes just Condor, with Echo blocking off any escape routes. It was an honest to Abe jumping, and his much larger canines meant Echo inflicted the bulk of the damage. The pair didn't stop until a fourth orang, a male named Guapo, chased Echo off and ran defense for Sidoni, before mating with her. The Orange Night would be too late, as a little over 2 weeks later, Sidoni became past tense due to her injuries, and scientists were left wondering what they had just witnessed. In over 26,000 hours of observation, only 6 female-on-female attacks were recorded, and none caused serious injuries. Yet here was a spiteful orang leveraging her carnal currency, specifically to erase one of her rivals, and Echo acting as a hired gun. Premeditated and personal, it was a shockingly dark look into the intelligence of the Forest Man, one that begs the question, just how smart are they, and just what could they be capable of?
That was a perfect shot right there, the way he was side-eyeing her. Like he's plotting. Oh man, that is crazy though. It's always these one-off stories that's like, I can't believe that actually happened, you know? Like, what?
To say orangutans are intelligent is honestly disrespectful, cause this tree-happy ginger ape is damn near human. That is an animal that can 100% speak. They just really don't want to deal with taxes, and that's only partially a joke. Their name, Orangutan, literally translates to man of the forest, cause locals swore they were plus-size people that chose not to speak because they know then they'd have to get jobs. In 2014, a court in Argentina actually granted human rights to Sandra the orangutan after 20 years of captivity. There's a cute saying that goes, if you give a chimp a screwdriver, it'll use it as a weapon. A gorilla would accidentally break it. A bonobo would become the screwdriver, but an orangutan, he'd hide it, use it to dismantle his cage, and then let all his friends out. There's a bunch of reasons for this brainy Bigfoot, and one of them is them being the biggest mama's boys on Earth. No other mammal spends more time with its mother, except humans. In the up to and often over 10 years of being her shadow, baby orangs learn everything about how to orangutan. Not only that, but daughters often live around their moms even after having their own baby. This means orangutans are one of the few animals that have a legitimate culture, and what we see is a sum of generational wisdom passed down. In 2022, a notorious Sumatran male named Raucus was seen using a medicinal plant to help heal a face wound he'd gotten in a fight. The 30-something-year-old applied the chewed-up paste of the akar kuning, an anti-inflammatory...
No way. No way. We got orangutans out here practicing medicine. We got orangutan witch doctors and stuff. Like, what's going on here? They're advancing. They're catching up to us.
Antibacterial flowering plant traditionally used to treat malaria and diabetes. Raucus applied the paste for 7 minutes until it covered his wound, and 5 days later, it was completely healed. It's not the first time we've seen animals self-medicate.
And he knew what medicine to use. It worked. The orangutan medicine man? What's going on here? I don't know. This is wild. Like that right there is wild.
Parrots will eat clay to detox from all the leaves, and elephants will apparently eat certain plants to induce labor. But what made rock
No. That's not the same to me. It's like understanding that if I eat this, it makes me feel better. I get animals understanding that much logic. Animals aren't completely stupid. But the fact that he made a paste and used it to heal a wound, a gash on the outside, not something that he ate and felt better later, but literally applied medicine. No, that is crazy. That's not another level right there.
is so radical is the simple fact that they rarely eat that plant to begin with. There's more evidence of orangs self-medicating with the same plants used by locals, and it's likely this knowledge was taught, and not by humans. Mothers will even teach their young to have the same preferences for food, so that when they
Wait, what if it was a human? What if a human was messing with some medicinal herbs and orangutan observed? What if it was one of those wild situations where they gave the orangutan some? Who knows?
get older, they can forage in the same area without directly competing with all the other mother-child pairs. Another thing this citrus simian is smart enough to understand is calculated reciprocity. In this viral video, you see this man Vitaly trade snacks with a zoo orangutan. Not only did the hairy haggler refuse until he understood that he'd be getting something back, I swear you can see him check for zookeepers. If it sounds like a stretch, it's scientifically proven this untaxable entity understands the concept.
No, he was checking. He was checking. Look, no, back that up. Back this up. Watch his face.
Harry Hagler refused until he understood that he'd be getting something back. I swear you can see him check for zookeepers. If it sounds like a stretch.
Right there. Right there. He's looking around, making sure it's safe. Right there.
It's scientifically proven this untaxable entity understands the concept.
Yeah,
Two
you knew.
orangutans at the Leipzig Zoo in Germany were given 3 different tokens and quickly learned that they could exchange one type for bananas for themselves. The second token type would earn bananas for the other orang, and the third type had no monetary value whatsoever. At first, the female, Doc, had no problem exchanging tokens to get the male, Bim, bananas. But Doc realized Bim wasn't really returning the favor, so she became a lot less generous. That gave Bim enough of an attitude adjustment to start trading his tokens more, until their efforts became closer to equal. There's another story of a zoo orangutan taught to exchange any trash he found in his enclosure for a food reward. Except he then realized if he just returned the trash in pieces, that would just mean more food for him, which was unfortunate when the trash was someone's phone, and tragic when it turned out to be a formerly alive possum. But what exactly
Wow. He's like, I'm giving you everything for every little prize I can get. Yes, I want it all. I don't care what it is. Oh, that's hilarious.
is it that makes orangutans so smart? Well, the superpower is how they learn. When orangutans are spending all that time with their mothers, they learn everything they need to by watching and copying. Even after they leave, young males will find an older, phalangeed male to use as a role model, learning how to be an alpha male by mimicking everything he does. Mimicry is how they learn, and that learning creates cultures. It's scientifically proven when resources are
And that's exactly what we do. That's exactly what we do. So they're not too far behind us in that sense. So they have a certain level of intelligence. They have a culture among them. So yeah, they're catching up. We got ourselves someone who's trying to give us a run for our money here.
good, orangs spend more time around each other and more time peering, watching, observing the other orangs. It's not just people watching, it's gathering intel, and they don't just do it to each other. Orangs regularly learn things just by watching the humans around them. This male was seen attempting to catch fish after clocking locals doing it, and one female, Supina, tried starting a fire by dipping a glowing stick in kerosene, blowing on it, and even rubbing it with another stick. But this shadow clone jutsu can be wildly inconvenient. Camp Liki is an orangutan research and rehabilitation reserve, where the Auburn apes have plenty of opportunities to study humans right back, leading to the trend of orangutans untying canoes from the dock and stealing them, and not even triple or quadruple knots can discourage them. Fun fact.
They just learn how to be terrors. That's it. They just learn how to be little terrors. Or big terrors, I should say. Oh, man. That's got to be frustrating. When you have to take care of an animal that's less intelligent than you, but intelligent enough to make your day incredibly difficult. For the laughs.
It takes about a 7-hour canoe ride to get to camp, so one documentary crew decided to save time with a speedboat. They lost that time after a redman stole the boat and left them stranded. The power of perception has taught orangs how to breastfeed, drive, and even saw wood, all from watching a human. It said orangs have the intelligence of a 4-year-old, but I've yet to see a toddler that did its own laundry. Now you're seeing what I'm saying. Bro's smart enough to talk, wise enough not to, and she's only song like that so we don't catch on. But what if I told you there's an even higher level of intelligence they can get to? Deception. Deception requires foresight and anticipating the actions or thoughts of another party. That's where intelligence can get scary. If orangutans have the capacity to trick us, we're talking about a whole different ballgame. Which brings us to the story of Fu Manchu. Now we're talking about an orangutan outsmarting humans, and it happened in the 60s in Omaha Zoo in Nebraska. I know, nothing ever happens in Nebraska. One day, zoo director Jerry Stone
said, Nebraska, it's your time, it's your time.
Was doing his rounds when a couple keepers ran up to him. Panicking, they told him not 1, but 5 orangs had escaped and were roaming the zoo. This was not good. Like all apes, an orang outside is a code red situation, and a starting lineup of them walking.
Yep, at the end of the day, no matter what, there's still primates who are massively stronger than we are. That's a recipe for disaster. They're running around. Yes, you got to get that taken care of ASAP.
Amongst people was a canon event begging to happen. All it would take was a human or orang getting too curious for it to be a bad time for everyone, and Jerry sprinted to them before anything could happen, and he found them just chilling. Yeah, Jerry was greeted by 5 fugitives just people watching in the elm trees by the elephant building. Clearly all they wanted to do was visit the zoo like everyone else. But you can't just have several hundred pounds of primate in public unsupervised, so Jerry literally went up the tree, grabbed an orang by the hand, and led them all back to the exhibit with no resistance. Jerry was less gentle with his staff, and let it be known that another mistake like that and someone would get pink slipped straight into unemployment. Clearly Stone made his point, because nothing like that would ever happen again.
I'm pretty sure it didn't. Man, it's like, I bet he went off. Deservedly so, deservedly so. Like, how you guys gonna let that happen? All 5 of them? Nah.
Until next week, when it happened again. Yup.
Wait. I fell for it. Oh, man. Oh, that's great. That's perfect right there. That face. Oh man, there we go. That face is the thumbnail right there. That's crazy.
Somehow, some way, orangutan gang got out again. No one got hurt. They actually went to the exact same spot in the trees. But a troop of tangerine men exercising free will is a nightmare for zoo PR, and this time Jerry was ready to give someone permanent PTO, because no shot someone went through all that school in debt just to not close a furnace door.
For real.
Imagine what went through Jerry's mind when the tans got out again. But this time, there was a catch. I used to think you'd only hear this line in a movie, but nah, someone actually ran up to Jerry and said, "You gotta come see this." And he wasn't wrong. You see, in the orangutan exhibit, there was a moat, and down at the bottom of that moat was a furnace door. And sure enough, they caught one of the males, Fu Manchu, fiddling with the door. They were watching from a distance so Fu wouldn't see them, but they couldn't see exactly what Fu was doing. All they knew was suddenly the door flew open and Usain Bolt felt a disturbance as these men broke the sound barrier running down to stop them. So now the solution was simple: clear the enclosure of anything that could be used to escape and do it daily. And sure enough, the orang breakouts came to an end. For about a week until it happened again.
They say you can't stop us. You cannot stop us. Oh man, we will have freedom.
Just tired. Remember, he was a zoo director, and these Mandarin menaces were monopolizing his life. And it was while perp-walking Fu Manchu, who just had to have the biggest eating grin. Jerry noticed a glimmer out the corner of his mouth. He pulls it out, and it all becomes clear. Out was a 4-inch piece of wire bent like a horseshoe that Fu Manchu.
He was picking locks. Orangutans are locksmiths out here. What? Yeah, definitely beyond the 4-year-old. You can't say that the orangutans are at a 4-year-old level. No. They're just, they can't communicate directly with us. That's all. They can't speak, or they just don't want to. I don't know what's going on here, but that's definitely that scary level of intelligence right there.
Stashed between his lower lip and gum. The very hairy Houdini had been using it as a lockpick for weeks and hiding it in his oral wallet. No one taught Fu. Not only did he orchestrate his own emancipation, he had the foresight to realize he couldn't have the key out around keepers or else it'd get confiscated. Fu Manchu would be named an honorary member of the Locksmith Union of the United States.
I don't remember, now he's the president for pulling that off. Oh man, that was too great. That was too funny.
And Jerry Stone would go on to work with several other interesting apes, including a gorilla named Harambe. Fu Manchu wouldn't be the last, or arguably the most creative. 27-year-old Carter used a stick to short-circuit an electric wire, and then used a bunch of sticks as a ladder to climb out her enclosure. She then just sat and enjoyed the view for 30 minutes until her keepers pulled up with tranquilizers, at which point she just went back in. Last year, Kimbali...
The funny thing is they be giving people panic attacks just so they could be out there chilling. Like they break out, make it all dramatic, and they just be sitting up somewhere just enjoying the view. And then they know when to go back. It's like they had to shoot it with the tranquilizers. She saw them and was like, okay, I give up. You guys got me. Time to go. They're too smart. Too smart.
Broke out of an $11 million habitat in Toronto by cartwheeling past a wire barrier. Mind you, that habitat opened up the summer before. Bro flexed on them 11 million ways. The important thing is, none of these cases do you see an orang get out with malicious intent. Most times they just cosplay as people. But what if one did have beef and use his powers for malfeasance? This is Ken Allen. It's the most famous name in orangutan lore, and you wouldn't even know the name if his mother Maggie had succeeded in smothering him before he even got it. He'd be named after the two zoo officials that would raise him instead, Ken Willingham and Ben Allen.
Ooh, these stories, like, what's gonna happen? Somebody gonna get mutilated, beat up, torn apart? What's about to happen here?
As a baby, he'd soft launch his shenanigans by regularly unscrewing the bolts of his crib and dismantling it. And once he got too big for a crib, keeper Joanne Thomas would take him around the zoo in a stroller. A decision that arguably cost the zoo thousands.
He wasn't strapped in and went berserk on somebody. That's my guess. So, either he saw something that he wanted and went to aggressively take it, or somebody made a gesture he didn't like. Let's see what happens. How close am I to the truth?
5 days after moving into his new enclosure, June 13, 1985, Ken climbed a wall and got out. Years before, folks caught Ken building a DIY ladder out of some branches. One thing I didn't mention is living in the trees full time.
He was talking about a stroller leading to tragedy. I thought he was gonna jump out of some park goers or something.
Means orangutans literally make their beds every single night. Up to 20,000 in a life. Clearly the craftsmanship carries on. Ken Allen spent his freedom wandering the zoo, taking pictures with patrons, before getting escorted back. Not a great thing to happen, but no one got hurt, the wall he scaled got extended, and surely this wouldn't happen again. July 29th of that year, Ken found a way out again, but this time, his intentions weren't pure. You see, there was another orang, Otis. Ken did not like Otis. Ken hated Otis. He hated him so much that they actually had to be separated because orangs might be an endangered species, but as long as they are roommates, Otis was an endangered individual. So when Ken escaped a second time,
they got on-site beef. Oh man, well this is beyond on-site. This is premeditated. He's going to look for him at this point.
He went straight for Otis's corner and chucked rocks at him. That premeditated stoning put him in solitary confinement, but I'm sure Ken will tell you it was worth it. But the reason for the beef might have been jealousy. Otis was the breeding star of San Diego, with nearly 10 kids and 3 wives. Ken hated him as a concept, so the zoo gave
jealousy. The jealousy of it all.
with nearly 10 kids and 3 wives. Ken hated him as a concept, so the zoo gave him 4. And of course that backfired, when Ken started teaching them how to disrespect infrastructure too. One day, someone left a crowbar in the enclosure, and instead of using it while everyone watched, he just tossed it aside, like he didn't even care. An actual orang move, except he threw it to a female named Vicky, and she used it to pry open a window and free them both. Also, Otis wasn't the only victim. Apparently he took offense to a TV crew filming a documentary on gorillas and pelted them with rocks, until he ran out of rocks and started using cannonballs from his colon. Ken was so crafty,
Whoo! The stink bombs. Oh man, this one was out of control. He did not care. He didn't care at all.
Employees would only have a chance of studying him if they dressed like regular guests, cause Ken would never incriminate himself if someone in uniform was around. Ken would break out a few more times, never hurting anyone, except Otis. He did once approach a child and mumble, "No one will ever believe you," before walking away. And if you doubt that, your disbelief makes his legacy stronger.
His legacy just keeps on growing. It's unstoppable.
was he cost the zoo over $40,000 in zoo enhancements, undercover surveillance, electric wiring, and even hired rock climbers to find every possible finger, foot, and toe hold. But he likely made that back and more, with all the PR Ken Allen brought to the zoo, just by being himself. But except for Otis, who, let's be real, must have done something to deserve it, Ken Allen never used his intellect to inflict violence. Bro just wanted a vibe. But what could an orang with a human grudge do? There's a story of an orangutan.
Are we gonna get an actual grudge this time? Because oh man, you led up to that and then did a hard left to another goofball. So let's see.
An actor hating his trainer and waiting until the two were alone up in a tree, where Pierre strangled his human op and threw him to the ground. But the only proof is the obscure article I couldn't find a source for. Plus, Pierre was probably in the right.
Probably did something to piss him off. Because, you know, especially back then, depending on how old this is and if it's a true story or not, there was a lot of trainers who they weren't trainers. They were just abusing animals and forcing them to do stuff. And so animals would snap on them. So it could have happened. It could have. We just don't have proof that it did happen.
Now, Joe's revenge was more than just a story. Joe was an orangutan that appeared in over 100 movies by 1919. This was a time where there were no laws against capturing, selling, and even killing wild orangutans. Universal Studios would take full advantage, and as cute as he was as a toddler, things changed once he became a teen. There would be several incidents with Joe, including a lawsuit where a security guard claimed Joe had mauled him with over 40 bites. There was another time he escaped, and when police pulled up to catch him, Joe stole an officer's gun.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you should be torturing something that's close enough to human to be able to use our tools. No, not a good idea. Because when they snap, and they have the ability to do certain things that other animals can't.
But the most infamous case was Joe breaking out of the Universal Zoo, serving straight chaos for 3 days, and even releasing 15 wolves and his elephant friend Charlie on the way out. But Joe did seem to have a code. Not only did he never attack women or children, he'd often defend them. One scene had an actor pretend to spank a child, but because Joe don't play pretend with the little ones, the orang went O-line and leveled the guy. Another scene had Joe's character help rob a lady, but when good guy Joe saw the villain looming over her, Joe folded his clothes, with him in them. By 1920,
I mean, it's like the orangutan doesn't know that it's acting. You don't understand that. So maybe you shouldn't put them in certain scenes, you know? But people don't use their brain all the time, unfortunately.
Went O-line and leveled the guy. Another scene had Joe's character help rob a lady, but when good guy Joe saw the villain looming over her, Joe folded his clothes, with him in them. By 1924, Joe was retired from show business after being deemed too dangerous to work with. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, it's Team Joe over here. But there's an even...
For real, it's Team Joe over here because you guys were the irresponsible, reckless ones. You guys know you're dealing with a wild animal and you put him in these scenarios where he doesn't know it's acting and he's just acting on instinct. In reality, he was doing good deeds, protecting someone who he thought was in danger. In both incidences, it's because you guys were putting him in these scenarios, making him think that there was a problem. So it's your fault. Team Joe.
Darker side to orangutans. So dark that I'm gonna just drop this. Here's an ad while you consider your options.
Well, I'm all in. Let's go.
Birute Galdeques is a primatologist and one of the leading experts on orangutans, and in the 70s, she arrived at Camp Liki in Tanjung Putin National Park, where she was immediately warned by native Indonesians that some male orangutans can find humans attractive and occasionally physically and forcefully act on it. She didn't believe it until a male walked into camp one day and violated a female cook, and even multiple people trying to wrestle him off couldn't stop the salacious onslaught. It's now advised that menstruating women either avoid orangs or walk around with a club.
Whoo! Oh man, yeah. Be careful out there. Be careful. That's all we can say. Because it's like you can't talk them out of it. They're gonna do what they do. Remember, they can't. They can communicate with us, but they're gonna do what they're gonna do. We can't talk them out of doing nothing.
So as you can see, orangutans are capable of anything from petty theft and zoo escapes all the way to premeditated census layoffs. but honestly, they could and should be way worse. An orangutan has never been on record murking a man, and some have had very good reasons. Joe Martin had every good reason, and the fact that he died with no body says more about his kind. The strong mom bond means Joe's mom was almost certainly destroyed for him to be taken. Joe suffered all manners of neglect, including electrical burns from wires, eye damage from the constant stage lights. He was given cigars and alcohol which ruined his health, and he was even knocked out by former heavyweight James Jeffries.
Y'all put him in a boxing match with the professionals and see, this is why so many people, they just trash in this world. It's like, what? Really? And then you wonder why the animal snaps. In most situations, when the animal snaps, it's the fault of the human, because they did something or continuously did something until the animal finally had enough. Like, man, I hate hearing these type of stories.
All without never really interacting with another orang. Joe going through all that and never severely maiming someone is our entire relationship with orangs. And
we know how it went with Travis, but that was a chimp. So yeah, it's a big difference. It's a big difference.
In a nutshell, we have done far more to them than for them, in worse ways than you think. I can't even say what this one went through, just know her name is Pony and her story is not for the weak. Orangutans as a whole are a victim of humanity.
Whew. Some of the comment sections, if you know the story, go ahead and put it down there.
The worst part is what happens when they're gone. Once all the orangs in an area are gone, all the generational knowledge of how to live there dies with them. It's not just a species, it's an entire culture that goes extinct with no way of bringing it back. So what can you on your phone, computer, or TV do? One is obviously support an organization that helps with research and rehabilitation, which is why I'll be donating to Orangutan Foundation International, founded by Galdekis herself. Link down below if you'd like to as well. Also, never support a place that uses orangutans as tourist traps. Any place that lets you pay to play with an orangutan is a huge red flag. But probably the best.
For real. Yes. Nah, huge red flag. Like, for one, you shouldn't be letting people get that close to them. And two, like, I don't know. There's so many things that they get caught up doing. It's crazy.
Best way is to avoid palm oil. Palm oil is the leading cause of their extinction, and it's in 50% of household products in the West. It's a commitment, but it's looking like we either give up the oil or negotiate the red ape's existence. The choice is yours, just know the orangutans would probably do the same for us. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. But first, I wanna thank y'all. If you remember my elephant sanctuary video, then you know that the park actually flooded a month after I visited. A flood that cost 2 rescued elephants their lives. But you guys came through with the donations, and Miss Lek Chyler was so grateful, they actually made a cake with my name and gave it to the elephants. And seeing my favorite animals eating out of my namesake cake would have been impossible without you guys, so thank you all. Hopefully one day I can do the same for Camp Leaky, but until then, drink water, hug your mother. If an orangutan hits you, apologize, because you deserved it. And I'ma see y'all in the next one.
Yeah, if it's a chimp, then yeah, it may not have been you. But if it's an orangutan, you did that. You did all of that. You deserved it. All right, guys, that was great. So, as always, you know what to do. Go down in the comment section. Let me know what y'all thought about this one. Of course, let me know excuse me, tongue twisted. Let me know what you'd like to see me react to next. Hit that like button before you go. Share this video with everyone you know. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you really want to support this platform, consider joining our Patreon. All right? So, till next time, take care of yourselves. And I'm out of here.